Hello, friends. I hope this camera is facing the way I want it to, although I do recommend that you listen to this, not particularly watch just because of the length of it. But hello, I am back for another Car Pod. The podcast I film in my car during my commute. So the whole idea of this car pod, I keep wanting to call it car pod, was to talk about, my creative life, but I also want to get personal on some of these episodes because there are a lot of topics I've been wanting to cover that involve my personal life. And today I want to start talking about my experiences growing up with anxiety and a learning disorder, a learning disability. Because I think there's a lot to be said there. Growing up, I felt I was pretty shy, and I had a hard time in school and stuff. I did not get the best grades, but I was arguably one of the most well-behaved students there were in the school. But yeah, growing up was difficult for me, but now that I'm an adult and more mature, I look back and a lot of things make sense, and I wish I would have known or I wish I would have known these things or understood these things when I was that age, but that's life, right? So let me start with anxiety, I guess. I've had anxiety my entire life. I don't know if people really, if anxiety just hits them at random times in their life. I mean, yes, it does, but the actual, I guess, disorder or whatever. Anyways, but I was diagnosed probably, junior high or something like that. And school was very difficult for me. I mean, looking back, I was a creature of habit. I still am. And once I have a daily routine, I like to stick to it if possible. But a lot of times you can't stick to it, day to day. But basically, I would get used to going to school every day. And then summer would hit, and I think I was looking forward to summer. Every kid does. But I think even not going to school probably was a little bit of a adjustment for me even. I know once it got time for me to get a job, once I was old enough to get a job, or once I was old enough to get my license, my driver's license, it took a while for me to actually get the courage to do that because of my anxiety. I don't know, anxiety just does that to you. Sometimes it makes you hesitate to do things that are normal adult things or normal human things, I guess. But to everybody, truly, they're difficult. I got my driver's license later than maybe most people do, and I got my first job later than most people do because I just procrastinated because I was uncomfortable to do it. But anyways, when I'd go through summer, when I would go back to school, that was always very difficult for me. And I wish my mom was here to in this car to maybe sometime I'll take her for a ride and we'll talk about it or something. But she was a big part of my story from kindergarten to even the first couple years of high school. Maybe were the first few weeks of school were very difficult for me because I had a hard time adjusting to from doing nothing over summer, or like I would play with my friends, I'd be outside, or I'd do something, I guess, but for the most part I just kind of enjoyed summers. From that to going back to school and getting up early and being somewhere with hundreds and hundreds of kids all day, what felt like all day, but I mean all day, and then coming home for what felt like a few hours, maybe doing some homework, playing with friends, going to sleep, and then doing it all over again. Home was my comfort. It's what I knew. It was my comfort space. And you go to school and there's so many kids around, and some kids are mean to you, or it's just, school is not usually your comfort zone. And like, because I felt this way, I really wasn't that involved in school. Like, I didn't really do, once school was, I would wait all day for school to be over so I could go home. All day. I had zero interest in doing extracurricular stuff. Clubs or anything like that. Definitely was not into sports, although my parents tried to get me into sports. They just wanted me to try it because that's what every parent does. Every parent gets their kid into sports, but it wasn't for me. Some sports I did end up kind of liking, but again, sports took me away from home, and it was not a comfort zone for me. And plus, the world of sports is very competitive, and you're always, demanded to be aggressive and get in there, and that just is not my personality, still isn't to this day. But I think my parents were trying to get me to like really, do normal kid stuff, I guess. But yeah, like, with all this being said, it just made my young years difficult. I mean, a lot of people have difficult years. There is probably a lot of kids that prospered in those years, did really good, got really good grades, were in, all the popular kids and all that. But like, honestly, it's like, school is difficult, for some people. And like, TV and movies don't really help because they bring out all that drama and they put it in front of you and they give you a certain perspective of what school is like. And of course, most people see it for the entertainment factor of the show or the movie, but like, honestly, there's a lot of truth to it too. So I didn't get the best grades because I think, like, I have a learning disability, and like, I don't learn like every other person does, or like, you have to read a lot in school. You're reading textbooks, or you're reading just a novel in school, and then you're tested and quizzed on it to make sure that you're understanding the criteria or whatever. But like, I did not like reading at all. There were a few books that I did enjoy, that I remember, that were good, but like, I just would read and it'd be kind of boring, and like, you just sit there in silence and you're reading, and as you're reading, you're trying to picture, what the book is telling the story. But like, I also noticed that when I'm doing certain things, my mind is on something else when it should be on this. And I don't know if that's ADD or ADHD or whatever, but that's what. So like, yeah, I was not really that into reading. But like, obviously, you have to read in school. It's part of your grade. But the ironic part of it is now that I'm an adult, I'm a filmmaker, right? I make movies. I have a certain way that I take in information. It's not the way that, school encourages you to take in information. And plus, I mean, I'm a millennial. I'm in my 30s, so I've experienced that transition in technology. So I think like I'm sure kids now maybe learn differently than I did. So maybe if I were, I had to do it all over again in these days, maybe I would have done better. I don't know. But yeah, school was hard because I got put in special classes. I would get pulled out of class and be put into a different class with other kids who had the same issues as I did. And that always feels, it both feels good and weird. It feels good because you're in a smaller group. The kids in those groups were generally nicer to you. The teachers were really nice. And I don't know, just having that smaller group just felt better, and it was a better learning environment for me. But you feel like you're not a part of, you feel not normal. You feel like you're not like everyone else because all the other kids are in the other class and they're normal. You're not. And that's a hard thing to grasp when you're young. But thinking of all this stuff. Oh, another thing I'll bring up too, speaking of my home being my happy place or my comfort zone. When I was in elementary school, I used to beg my mom to stop at, I don't remember if I had the idea. I think it may have been her idea. I think she would leave work on a lunch break, and during recess she would come and say hi to me and make an appearance at recess and say hi to me, and it comforted me. And then she would leave back to work. But now that I'm older, all this stuff makes sense. I grew up an introvert, and I had a really hard time with changes in daily routine, and I had all these issues with anxiety, and it's interesting too because the first days of school, like I said, they would be just awful for me. I remember I would be so afraid to for most of school I rode the bus, which I did end up enjoying, but there would be some mornings when I would be so nervous and did not want to go to school that my mom would have to take me, and the closer we would get to school, my anxiety would just keep raising and raising. And some of you may ask if I had experiences at school that made me uncomfortable. I think it was mostly all in my head. School just was not a comfort zone for me, so I just didn't want to be there simply. And gosh, I used to stop when I would play baseball in elementary school. I used to stop games because I would start crying because I just didn't want to be there because of anxiety. Just all this makes so much sense. I was introverted. I was a creature of habit. I liked when I was in a habit, I did not like being taken out of it. And I just don't learn. Another problem I have is my memory. A lot of people, when they're told things, when they're told things, they can remember them, and their brain is like a sponge, and it just it holds it in there, holds it tight until they need it, until they're ready to pass that information on to somebody else. I was not like that. I don't think I could have ever been a server or a waitress or waiter, I guess, because my memory is not I have a short-term memory, I guess, and the story I'm going to tell, there's two stories I'll tell related to this. One of them is, I remember when I used to play flag football because I didn't want to play like tackle football. I played flag football, and I think my coach, for some reason, gave me some bits of information to give to the rest of the team. And he told me, and he said, okay, go tell him. And I got halfway out to the field to tell the team, and I forgot what he said. And I turned around, and he kept on pointing me back in that direction. He said, go tell him, go tell him. And I kept going up, and he kept pushing me away, like, go tell him, no, go tell him what I just told you. And I was trying to, like, have him repeat it, but he, like, wouldn't listen to me. So that was, like, an anxious time. Like, it really stressed me out. And another time when I was older, again, sports related, no wonder I don't like sports. I was doing this, I used to work for this like local sports network, and I won't name who it is, I guess. But same thing. Somebody told me some information to give to somebody else, and I tried to, but then I turned around and I went back because I forgot what they said or something, and the person just blew up at me, like, why, like, go tell them, or why can't you remember, I just told you, or, you know, whatever. And this is the same thing too, like in school, the amount of times that I would be that people would blame me for not listening. You didn't listen. Why didn't you listen to what I said? I did, but I can't remember things. Like my brain will take that information, keep it for a few seconds, and it'll get rid of it before I need to use it. So that was always frustrating. It still happens to this day, and I still get in trouble for it. It still gets me in trouble, and like I try, but like, and I'll even try to make notes or whatever, and people look at me like, why do you need to make a note? Like just remember it, or I didn't give you much information. Remember, and I'm like, I'm sorry. So yeah, that to this day it still gets me in trouble. But okay, I am nearing my destination, so I'm gonna end this. And plus, my battery is it's gonna die soon. So yeah, if you're a young person watching this, I hope this helps you. I hope this helps give you some peace of mind that if you're struggling with things or you're uncomfortable with these certain things, that it's just the way you are, and people just sometimes this world is not built for all of us. It's, you know, we're supposed to learn one way and one way only, and hopefully things have changed since I was in school, but they sure weren't that way when I was in school. But they did try. They did make an effort, and I'm thankful for that. But I think things hopefully nowadays are better. But yeah, like if you just feel like people don't understand you, you know, find like-minded people, find people like yourself. But I'm just here to tell you that you're not crazy. The world's just not, you know, quite built for us sometimes. So thanks for watching. Shout out to my friend Carmen, who watched one of my previous podcasts before the last one, because this one is the latest podcast I've recorded at the time. But there's another one that at the time of recording this is still on my list to get done. So thank you all for watching and listening. See you for the next one. Again, let me know if you have any topics you would like me to cover, and I'll see what I can do. All right, thanks everybody.